Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3, episode 21. We just had a reform the government situation and looking at how to reshape it to pass the next law. And in this case, we're going to jump straight from legal guardianship of women to full on women's suffrage. Perfect timing, too, as this is exactly when it happened in the US. It's not going to happen day one, though, and what we need is we're going to need to get the rural folk, the intelligentsia, and the trade unions in the government with the landowners and Shia ulema out. So let's see if we can make that happen, because otherwise it's not going to be possible. It looks like we can get the necessary groups in the right places to make sure that the law passes. It will come with a little bit of cost in terms of time. Legitimacy would be at 48% following this. It's not great. It's not great on where you want to be. The industrialists over trade unions would be better, but even then, we'd still only have about 58%. It's about 10% better. But this will get the law passed a lot faster, as the trade unions are part of the group that want it. So if you remember where we left off last, our economy has grown massively. Construction has grown massively. We now have 82 units of construction excuse me, at any given time. And with the recent passing of a tax law, our economy is booming. And we were actually able to turn down the taxes, which is slowly turning down the radicalism surrounding us. So with a 40% chance, 46% chance now, days later, we have, very good odds of this happening in either one or two attempts at it. 250 days. It's going to take just shy of a year to get that in because of the legitimacy, but that's okay. That is okay, as we are rapidly growing the economy, now already over 70 million. And just 2 months ago, when I hit unpause, it was at 68 million. Standard of living is rising rapidly, also thanks to that construction, mostly thanks to adding clothing. We've imported a few things for the middle and upper strata that is helping them be happy, but it's largely coming down to getting clothing to the poorest people. The demand is still absurdly high, and it's still something that needs a lot of work. If we look in the market, the beginning of last episode, we were at not quite 3,000. It was about 2.9 thousand sell orders, production wise. That's all we were coming up with. We have more than doubled that over the last episode, and yet the demand just continues to climb and climb and climb because we are nowhere near what the actual demand is. Now, grain is something that we have been producing just fine. That's basic food needs. Advanced, just regular old groceries, not meat, but regular groceries. We're not producing meat at this point. It's something we want to get into, as it would help raise that standard of living as well, but it's neutral. I mean, it's just fine. So we are meeting the food needs of our people, the basic food needs. Wood is fine now. Services was a real problem. I found the solution on that one, and it's fine now. We still have more than enough cloth. It's just clothing. Clothing continues to be a huge shortage. When will it level out? I mean, our buy orders for food, you would think that would be a higher need than clothing. Well, it's in excess of that, but we'll keep trying to get it up there until it's where it needs to be. Let's see, other areas where we are short. Still opium, still tools. I've been bringing those along, but those needs continue to rise. I think the opium demand goes up the more we produce, so it's continually rising demand as well. I don't know if it's helping standard of living at all, but it's certainly helping the economy. One day to tell our first checkpoint, will it go up or... Okay, it goes up. It goes up by 15%. I do not want to help the rural folk out, so yeah, we'll take that 15%. Now at 61%. Steel is a big need at the moment as we've been increasing tool production by wide swaths. Coal is keeping up. The iron is almost keeping up, but steel is not. So let's go ahead and address that one. We could produce more iron, or consume more iron, and increase our steel. Yeah, let's do that. Let's switch to the open hearth. This is also going to allow us to switch to the publicly traded. We have more steel coming on the way anyway, but that does mean that iron is going to suddenly be of a greater need. Let's switch that one up as well and switch that to the publicly traded. Took them a little while, but the landowners, as always, are now trying to intervene. Radicalism is up on their side, as it has continually been, but more and more we are taking the power away from the landowners by switching from privately owned businesses to publicly owned after switching over to using tools. But of course that need for tools is something we are constantly short of. So the demand keeps increasing, and then production keeps increasing, but we're not getting ahead of it. But it is getting us ahead of the landowners and just making them weaker and weaker, less effective over time. But we are hitting a stage where I think it's time next. Right now it's tools. Clothing now up to 6.4, but still well short. So hey, look, clothing still in need. Does look like we could use a little more wood, as we're starting to come up short there. Still the opium. Steel's looking better, but it's still short. Same with the iron. Coal's okay. Tea has a bit of a shortage, and we do have an official shortage on dye. So we want to take care of dye. We want to take care of glass. Glass is well short. We are finally nearly done incorporating Eastern Afghanistan into the larger state. Less than a month now until that is done. The infrastructure also is it's one away from being there. So things are coming together. I have no idea how the stall chance went from 2% to 27% in the last month or two, but it did, and we ended up stalling, which has slowed down progress for the next phase. We have a better than 50% chance of success. We have 20% chance of it getting closer to success, and yet that stall that was completely gone, completely not there, ended up being what we got, unfortunately. Irrigation, automatic irrigation, is finally something that is available to us. It's going to start using a lot more engines than before, but you can see opium, one of those great needs that we have. This is going to absolutely take care of that. 60,000 more. That's a huge increase, but those engines, well, the engines are going to be a bit of a problem, so we need to address the engines. We can make taxes very low. They're already low. It's going to take away 60,000, but you look at our balance, that's not a problem. Legitimacy goes plus 10, and the radicals from standard of living drops to minus 20% from 10%. So we're going to take that on. Right away, we're back under 3 million on that one. We're up over 21 million. Standard of living has hit 14 for the first time. And education access it's getting there. It is getting there. And we are slowly at 47.5%. GDP is flying at the moment. It's up to 92 million. Just a few years ago, it was just under 60. This time around, women's suffrage has finally passed. Birth rates are going to go down as women enter the workforce. However, we're looking at a big increase to what is available in the workforce. Now, a lot of groups are happy to have it. I, of course, am happy to have it as well. And we're only 3 years behind the U.S. in terms of when they did it in real life, which means it took us 3 years to get that passed. But passed, it has done. And we have done so much more than we were ever able to do with the first two playthroughs. We have what looks like 14, soon to be 13 years left in this playthrough. We'll see what else we can get done in that time frame. Besides, seeing this GDP fly up over 100 million, you can see that's coming. That's coming soon enough. We want to get that standard living 15, 16, see that rise. Oh, finally. Oh, we've had this event ongoing for a long time. The Ripper, as in like Jack the Ripper, just the Persian version of it. Uh, Murderer at large. We've had a bunch of negative events over the last, I'd say, 5 years. And finally, they have been caught. That's going to go away. Clapped in irons. Plus 10% authority. Catch up. Good. Here we go again. Radicalization of the landowners, as always, but also the Shia ulema, who were not happy with the passing of this one, but they do not have much strength at all. And it's hit that 50% threshold where it eases off a bit, and then it looks to kind of stall out there. We already have our next election upcoming sooner than you would normally think, but that's because passing that previous law, well, took a while. All right, election incoming in just a few days. We'll see what the outcome is on this one. Moderate Socialist Party are going to have a huge influx in terms of power for the next period. Society for Progress is the other one that got a vast majority of the votes. So with legitimacy down at 18%, we definitely need to reform the government. There are 2 laws that we could potentially pass this time around, and those are total separation, as in church and state, census suffrage, meaning who has the right to vote. Right now, it's limited on who can. So that would be a progression that's not full on. The total separation would be full on, but it'll depend on how we can reform the government on which one of those we end up targeting. And in either case, the landowners and or the Shia ulema are going to be really, really ticked off, and they already are. So I think we're going to be having ourselves another civil war here soon, but they are not looking very powerful at all. So I want to keep the trade unions in for either of these laws to pass. We want to keep the intelligentsia in, as they are the strongest one. The rural folk would get us in for the census suffrage, but we only have 18%. If we take them out, we would jump to 43%, and that would put us on the total separation. So it looks like 43% is the best we're going to get. The reason being, this group has a lot of power right now. I think pushing and getting that civil war done and out of the way is going to take their clout, wipe it out, and the legitimacy is going to go right on up. Therefore, we could technically pass either one of these. In this case, the total separation is looks to be what we're going to aim for. And here is that law. So right now we have a state religion. It does come with increased authority. By the way, historically, many devout people would absolutely argue against this, but high school history teacher for a number of years, and while it was a topic that we weren't ever allowed to really get into, the reality, religion has been all about authority. It's control. It's a control measure, and that's what it has been there for throughout its entire existence. Shia ulema have plus 30% political strength because of the state religion as well, so getting rid of that would be very good for us. Support, not high, but it's only the Shia ulema who are against it, and once we take care of their, things are not looking good on this, but it's going to take over a year for the first checkpoint. I think that civil war is going to be happening much sooner. We're at 76%. It's at 86 on the extremism. We're going to have it quite soon. Ooh, that increases their strength a lot, though. That's going to put it at 28. 28 of, is it 60? 66? Yeah, we'll be fine. It's going to be a little bit of a fight, though. It is going to cost us some money, but hey, taxes are turned really low. We'll be fine. The political movement disbanded. Oh, because it was the legal guardianship one, not a total separation one. So that just timed out. The law that we had passed, that was a reaction to that law. But now their attention is elsewhere, and they've forgotten about it. The news cycle has moved on to a new topic. Total separation. I'm sure they're going to be mad about that one soon enough, and we probably will see this emerge. But that temporary kind of combination of anger over two things that led to a lot of extremism is gone. It looks like we're also just about to phase out of all of those various needs. That over 7,000, it just keeps rising. So clothing, still a thing. The nice thing is we're still producing more fabric than the sell orders, than the demand, and that's one thing that's made the progression here quite easy. Tools still in great demand. Opium still in great demand. I definitely think that is something that demand is just going to keep rising and rising as we produce more and more. Furniture is actually back to being a bit of a need for the first time in a while. Still a major shortage of dye, and now lead. So lead is finally something we are starting to use. I think it's about time we turn up the military another notch. It's been a really long time. Plus 30 offense and plus 35 defense to switch from line infantry to skirmish infantry. It's a plus 330 to our army power projection at the cost of ammunition, which is something we've been working on. Our first attempt at passing the law, of course, did not succeed. The odds were quite low, but we actually do gain through debate, though, so it does come at a cost. We're going to take that gain. But it has finally opened up that response. The Shia ulema, the only ones responding so far. The radicalism is rather high, but not enough to start the revolution to knock them out. GDP has climbed up over 100 million, at least for a moment. It's right back down to 98. When that's steady, we'll find out. But yeah, we're getting there. Late on in this playthrough. More clothing factories, a bunch of them. Expansion happening now. By the way, we are finally exceeding the amount of cloth there is, so the price is going to start going up for cloth, and that's going to potentially change things. So we might need to address that sooner rather than later, as that's a pretty big industry. We're going to go ahead and open up citrus orchards at the wheat farms. It's going to lower the amount of grain we're producing, but we're producing more than we need anyway. It's going to expand what we have in fruit and sugar. Another debate, but again, this is actually a good one. Enactment time can come down by quite a bit at the cost of the Shia ulema hating us even more. I'm sure that radicalism is probably going to rise as a result, but for now, it looks to be the same. Still at 32% chance of success, which is the highest of the four options. But so far we've had two debates. Russia wants a trade agreement with us. That's a good sign, as the more we push towards a positive relationship, the less likely they are to want to attack us. In fact, with that, we've been stuck at minus 19 relations with them for a really long time, and they've stopped degrading relationships. So now it's increasing for the first time in ages, and that's a good sign. Standard of living 15 and climbing. Population 22 million and climbing. We just had another instance of it not happening. What have we had? Okay, it's a positive. We could change his ideology to moderate, or we just go for the enactment chance. Let's go for the enactment chance increase. And now they are more upset, so here comes the beginning of revolution, but it's only at 52%, so I don't see it'll get to that 50 and then it'll slowly stall. Oh my, we have an election coming up with the law not yet passed. I don't think it's going to get passed before the election. It's in 120 days, and the next checkpoint is nearly a year away. That could stall out entirely the progress we have made as we see a change in the government. Production and clothing demand just keeps rising and rising and rising, but we are up over 9,000 now in terms of production, but cloth is a need, so we're going to have a bunch of new ranches to raise that up. Tools demand just gets higher and higher. As I increase the tools, I just cannot keep up with the demand. But now wood is also a pretty big shortage I think our biggest need is sulfur, though, as we have a major shortage there. All right, so we have had uh, actually the Free Trade Party has done really well, 63%. So that is fantastic. That's the group we want in charge. Oh, maybe not. The Free Trade Party, they've renamed themselves. It's the industrialists with the landowners, and the landowners we definitely don't want to be bringing into the government right now. So uh, legitimacy is kicking the trade unions, the Communist Party, out of the government, though, would at least give us 10% more legitimacy. But are they part of the group that is trying to pass this law? They are, so we don't want to do that. Let's leave it as is. We'll stay at the 40%. Mining incident, blaming the upper strata is going to lead to more radicals, and the wealthy are not ones you really want to be radical. But it is going to improve the trade unions, which is going to help the government, and it's going to help us pass this law. Next checkpoint in 170 days, and we're looking at 40% chance of success. It's definitely leaning that direction. Stall is one of the other big ones, though. Advance, even though it was a small percentage, is what we got. Debate is almost gone. Stall is still there. It's still got a significant percentage. But success is now over 50%. And it's going to take a year. So we'll see. This should definitely happen before the next government reform kind of comes in. GDP, meanwhile, jumps to over 110 million now. And we've held standard of living at 15 without seeing it fall back down. I don't know how this law continually is not passing when it has an overwhelming chance of success. Now it's going to drop back to below 50%. 57% is not like the end all be all that it's certainly going to happen. But my oh my, I mean, it's just, we've had some bad luck with this law, and it's already gone through an election cycle, and it's still struggling to get through. Shia Alema continue to hang on and put some pressure on us. Small expansion of our construction sector has us right between a 95 96. Finally got clothing up over 10,000, and total separation has finally passed. We've got it done. Total separation of church and state. Big steps going through, and looks like the radicalism to restore it isn't even that high, so I think we'll be just fine on that one. Authority, though, has fallen off. We have a minus 100 in authority now, so we're going to have to look to address that or cut out a consumption tax of some sort to get back to neutral. The opposition interest group approval, so we have a minus 1.3% without that authority, so that is something we are going to want to. The consumption tax on liquor is a good way to balance that one out. It's not going to hurt us too much. Even though we've seen our position in the world fall from 13th to 14th in recent times as we enter the final 6 years of the playthrough, and man, have we really, really accomplished a lot. Feeling really good about a lot of the things we have managed to do. Feeling really confident about handling the economy these days. In 2 episodes, we've seen the economy more than double from 58 million GDP to 122 million GDP. Literacy hasn't gone up significantly, but that's also because I've only expanded by a couple of universities in, ages. And it's definitely not meeting the needs of a population of near 23 million. But standard of living has risen from a 12 to a 15 over the last little while radicals have remained relatively neutral, and that's despite passing a wide array of laws. And we nearly have all of them that we want to get. I mean, we have really modernized in many ways outside of the fact that we are still a monarchy. But that's about it when it comes to major changes. Right now, the balance for the economy is not great, but we have the lowest level of taxation possible right now, and that's part of the reason why the radicals aren't as high. But that standard of living, it's getting better and better and better. That lower strata is at a 14. Their minimum expectation is an 8.5. And you can see that big climb. It had been steady for a very, very long time in the playthrough. That graph is all the way from the beginning in 1836 till now. And you can see we made a few climbs early on, but it was steady for the longest time. Made a little climb in the middle of the playthrough, but then it was, again, steady for a very long time. And over the last little while, it's made the biggest climb of the entire playthrough. So we are making progress. Most of that has come through clothing. And of course, clothing went from 3,000 to 10,000 in the last, 40 years. Probably less than 30 years, actually. Still nowhere near what the demand is. Services also went up, so that helped. Tool production, not quite meeting demand, but it's getting there. It's doing better. Cloth, which was looking great, isn't. Wood, which was doing okay, no longer is. Furniture is also coming up in demand. Opium is, a high demand good as well. We have shortages. We have lots and lots of shortages for a rapidly growing population. But all in all, we've got firm control over the economy, with a construction rate of 95 now. Things are growing very rapidly, and that's why that GDP is just flying right now. There's so many things that we are doing that I'm going, oh yeah, nice. Really happy about where certain things are at. So good to see that. And with 6 years to go, I think we're looking at one more episode before we get into what is next. Please take a moment, drop down below, and leave a comment. Who should we do? We want to grow, so Persia is what we have now, and we've brought Persia up to number 14. Theoretically, I want to do something that is in that 10 to 20 range in their ranking at the start of the playthrough. We don't want to take on a major power yet. That'll be one playthrough away. But we do want to take on something that is higher standard, that is already up there, that is already powerful, that could maybe become powerful by the end of the playthrough. Who that is? I don't know. I'm not looking at the right screen to see that properly. Let me know in the comments below who you think we should play in our next playthrough. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.